All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Everyday EDC. My name is Tyler, and today it's finally the day that I choose to review my Hinderer XM-18 Skinny Sheepsfoot. This is my Hinderer XM-18 Skinny Sheepsfoot. No, this is not stock pretty much anything. So it's kind of hard to like say, okay, I'm judging on this, this, and this, right? Well, let's see. Now that I'm sitting here, I had my scales. I drop them in here. I just sold the stock scale to this, so I'm going to see I didn't plan this out before I looked it up. Piss poor planning on my part. Comes with the stock G10 scale right up here. This is what it looked like stock. So it just had this black scale. It had some different colored hardware. I believe the hardware was silver originally. I bought this off of Reddit about 9 months ago, plus or minus. So just before we get into anything, let's talk about the differences that I've changed so that throughout the rest of this, you're not like, well, is mine going to look like that? Now, most of you probably aren't even going to ask that question. You guys are just watching this for entertainment. But yes, I did remove the flipper tab. It was my first flipper removal, and of course, I tried it on an XM-18. Why not, right? I thought I did pretty successful. It's nice and smooth and round, but it's not the best polish when it comes to, not in the terms of polishing, but as far as refinement of technique, yeah, not the best. So we have some different colored hardware here. I was originally going for kind of like a battle bronze with this bronze side. I don't know that I liked the bronze side at first, but this was my first real Hinderer I got into, except for I had a 3-inch at one point in time that was like a Gen 4. This is a Gen 6. It does come with these. These were originally silver as well. These back spacers here, also battle bronze. Let's see, I got a battle bronze stabilizer. I do not have the battle bronze cover plate here. And this pocket clip is aftermarket. Now, I don't even remember. I think it's an MXG. But there was nothing wrong with the pocket clip. Let me state that. It wasn't like the Umnuzan where there was something wrong and it created a hotspot. Not the case. I didn't have any issues with the pocket clip, but I bought some just to try out, right? Because nobody really talks about changing out the pocket clip on a Hinderer. And then I got this and I'm like, that looks stupid. But I mounted it anyways. And after mounting it, this pocket clip is phenomenal. This thing is awesome. Absolutely fantastic. I will never look back from that pocket clip. I think it's amazing. And in hand, you have no idea that pocket clip is there. Choked up or not, that pocket clip is just, it's gone. Okay. These are some titanium liners. And to prove that, I have a very strong magnet here. Well, that was awkward. Hold on. I don't know why it's connecting to all these things there. All right. Shoop. Not magnetic. What it's actually drawing to is that screw right there. That's how strong this magnet is. Titanium pocket clip right there. The scales, and it's also drawing to, there is a stainless steel insert right here. Hardware, titanium, 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 titanium. The pivot may or may not be titanium. I'm not sure if it's feeling this inside here or if both of those are steel, because you really don't want to do steel and titanium mixed when you're doing the threaded work. It does kind of feel like the thumb studs and external stops are steel, which makes sense because they're also external stops, more so than thumb studs. And obviously, let's see here, the stop pin does not feel to be, there's a little bit of draw there, but I think I'm pulling from here and the spine of the blade. That stop pin may be titanium. Okay, so that's kind of it. These scales are the sharp dressed knives scales. They were kind of there was nothing else on the market and I got these. That's kind of where this went. So I'm going to change them soon. I actually really like the look of this. I think it looks sick and it grew on me despite not being my first choice. But I think it's going to be time for a change, which is, you know, kind of what makes Hinderer Hinderer. You can get something different and go. And I've never been a gold guy. I saw some frag pattern gold scales or brass scales up for sale, and they were like $250, and I'm like, nah, I can't do that. That's not interesting to me. But so once you put this external scale on there, it does not take the place of the liner right here on the skinny. Now, if you were to get a titanium scale, in theory, it does take the place of it. And I did have one on the other XM-18 I did own and traded, and that whole setup with those scales, you can go back and look at some pictures, was like $300, but it came with a matching pocket clip, filler tab, and scale. Pretty wicked custom work done, but a little too gaudy for me. This is on phosphor bronze currently, and that has been my favorite setup. I haven't really gone back and tried anything else, and I have no urge to. I really like the action on these phosphor bronze. It is almost fall shut in certain circumstances. If I were to take it apart and clean it like I was intending to recently before the review, you might see a little bit better action. Solid lockup, no back and forth. We're still locked up at like 30%, not a huge deal at all. And the lock bar, super easy to access. Yeah, this thing's sweet. What I'm gonna do here is get you guys some specs. I'm going to get you guys some size comparisons, and then I'm just going to talk about this knife, because this thing is probably the staple of my collection and has been. I've gone through some really expensive knives like I've just happened upon, got lucky with, etc. And this thing has still stood true as the knife that I have no intentions of trading or ever selling. If I had to go down to one knife, this would probably be the knife, just because there's so much time and money invested in it. But it's also, if you exclude all of those things, it would be in the top 2 or 3 anyways. So it means a lot to me and is probably my biggest point of pride in my collection. I love this thing. So let us get you guys some specs. Again, this is the Hinderer Skinny Sheepsfoot. The blade stock's coming in at about 135 thousandths. Let's take it from a little bit further back here. Yeah, in between 135 and 140 thousandths. This is still the original edge. And it is coming behind the edge at approximately 20 thousandths. So it's perfectly slicey enough for me. And yes, it's still the factory edge. I actually chipped the edge right here. See if you guys can get a good look at it. Right here. There's a little chip. Which is fine. I normally would sharpen that out, but because this is my Hinderer, I have no urge to sharpen that out. I will let it ride. So the overall thickness on this guy's coming in at 460 thousandths, and the overall height at its maximum height is coming in right at 1.45. So not the most narrow in profile, but it is pretty damn thin considering most knives are coming in between 450 thousandths and 500 thousandths, or half of an inch thick. Overall length on the XM-18, 3.5 inch skinny sheepsfoot. The overall length is coming in at approximately 8.25 inches. The blade length is coming in at about 3.5, but the cutting edge is coming in at 3.25 with that large forward finger choil. All right, so the overall weight on my Hinderer XM-18 skinny sheepsfoot coming in at 4.74 ounces. I'm not quite sure what that carbon fiber does for the difference of weight. I can't imagine it does much because that was just a G10. Now it's going to be slightly lighter due to the carbon fiber, but it's going to be completely minute, to be perfectly fair. I didn't change the liner to say, hey, look at me, I changed the liner, you know. Well, no, that's exactly what I did. I didn't change the liner for function, I guess I should say. So size comparison. Perfect size comparison right here. This is your Kershaw bare knuckle. Just about the same exact size as the bare knuckle. And actually, if you look at the profile, there's a lot of similarities between these two. And the bare knuckle obviously doesn't feel as good in hand. There's a lot of differences there, but realistically, looking at them now for the first time together, yeah, if you guys couldn't see some similarities, I mean, I do. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying there's some similarities between those two. Next, here is your large feldspar. Once again, just about the same size as your large feldspar. And your Rat Model 1. Rat Model 1 should be coming in at slightly larger, and it is. Here's going to be your wee Sakshi. And let's grab a couple hometown favorites here. One that it battles for endless love with is my wee Malice. Yes, I love my Malice. I used to love my Malice more than I loved this guy, which doesn't hold that true anymore, but the Malice still will always have a special place in my heart. Here is your Hogue Sig K320. Once again, just about the same size as your Hogue. And let's get you a couple small sizes here. Here is your Kershaw Launch 10. I guess that would be a good comparison. I'll do one more comparison, then I'll stop boring you guys with these. This should probably get the point across. Here is your Ritter Hogue Mark 1 G17,000,000 XY Afferson sign. About the same size as your Ritter Hogue. So you can see this is falling right at the same size as the average to small large knife. By small large knife, I mean small large knife. It's a large knife, but it's on the small side of large and on the high side of average. So this knife, let's talk about this knife. So first and foremost, I did purchase a regular size Hinderer XM-18 3.5 spear point. Now, what did I notice? I actually bought that to see if I liked the skinny models better than I liked the regular size, and I do. Here's the interesting fun fact. I had this, and I didn't actually carry it that much in the beginning because it's your first Hinderer. You're like, oh shit, I can't carry that. And then I get over it pretty quick. Clearly chip tip, whatnot. The 20 CV is holding up great. I haven't had to sharpen this. I've just honed and stropped it, and it is doing fantastic. Another reason why I'm not trying to sharpen out that chip. Even though that chip is so tiny, it'll come out with the first sharpen. Not a big deal. The action on this is wicked smooth. Just absolutely wicked smooth. If I wasn't underneath the camera, it almost falls shut on these phosphor bronze. The phosphor bronze definitely make a different acoustic sound. It's more of a click and a clack than a thwack. When you throw the bearings in there, you get a whack. When you get the phosphor bronze, it's more clickety and clackety. Kind of nice. So I did do a flipper delete. This had a flipper, and the flipper worked just fine. But the reason for the flipper delete is it opens up the ergonomics immensely. This is incredibly comfortable in the choke up position now. This in the non-choked up position is incredibly comfortable. You have a ton of room. Now, a lot of people don't do that. They don't do the flipper delete. Why? Because these thumb studs, from what I'm hearing, are like you either get them or you don't. Sometimes you get one that's really hard to do. I've only felt a couple different Hinderers by this point, 3. And I haven't had any issues with any of the thumb studs. The difference with the Hinderer is that this lock bar is relatively light, so if you put any pressure on it, it's not going. Here's the pressure. I cannot open it with pressure on that lock bar. When I take the pressure off, you got to learn how to hold it. The reverse flick is absolutely fine, but what I'm doing is I'm pushing like up. Here, let's see here. I'm pushing up and out at the same time. It's not just out, it's not just up. You kind of got to push up. So when I hit it, I'm actually hitting it with this part of my finger as opposed to pushing. It's right, not on there. I'm hitting it with this part. So I'm pushing out, and that's the position I am in when I'm deploying it. So I'm using the side of my finger to just flick it out there. The detent is tuned perfectly to where I don't know that I can fail this anymore. Let's see. Oh. And this is on phosphor bronze, so I'm really good at failing knives on the open, and this does not want to fail. So we talked about the ergonomics. The blade is holding up fantastic. That 20CV is doing just fine. This blade shape, I was actually kind of disappointed that I got the Sheepsfoot in the beginning. I am no longer disappointed. This is my favorite working blade shape by far and large. Some Wharncliffes really kind of scratch that itch, but I don't want a 3.5-inch Wharncliffe. Talked about that before. If I'm gonna get a Warnie, I like it shorter. This is a bad example. But let's see here. This is my Bergblade Slim. Love this knife. Yes, this is more of a Sheepsfoot than a Warnie, but it has a very gentle belly. Now, this, in my opinion, is the perfect size. If this wanted to taper down into a Wharncliffe and not do this butcher blade look, this would have been fantastic. You have a lot of control with your pointer finger. This, I mean, you have some control, but it's just too long. If you made a 3-inch Warnie, I might be interested, but I don't know. So that blade shape is absolutely fantastic. This grind is a little thick, but let's be honest, it's most of us don't notice it until we start highlighting it and the reviewers start highlighting how thick this is. This is the skinny, so it is coming in at 200 thousandths thinner on the blade stock, if I'm not mistaken. What did this blade stock come in? Like 135 thousandths. I believe the regular is coming in at 150 to 155 thousandths, and the thick is coming in at like 180 thousandths or some shit. It's like stupid thick. I haven't seen any thicks really running around, but I've seen some. So let's talk about the hardware and the disassembly. This is just a flat head for the pivot, but you have to have, and I just had it. Once again, kind of, there it is. You have to have like a spanner to get in there. Or you can use a penny, which I believe I got out, but I might have thrown away once I figured out that spanner fits. I did cut out a notch in a penny that has worked and served me well the whole time. So the pennies work just fine. You literally just take like a grinder from like a Dremel or something and you notch out a penny and just keep matching it until you get the right size. A penny works good too because it's nickel and you're going against steel and you're really not going to scratch anything that way. The spanner is going to be steel, so I have to watch what I'm doing. I can very well scratch this. So you have a filler tab there. Basically what that's doing is there you can remount this tip down carry. I would be interested to know if anybody's actually done that. But totally separate topic. We have a hardened steel insert right there. We have the lock bar stabilizer right here, which is an aftermarket. It did come standard with the silver look, same as the pivot right here. But I changed the color because I was going for that battle bronze look. Actually, I was going for the black and battle bronze, and I wanted a black titanium scale, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this anymore. I got to take a look at some stuff. This pocket clip works fantastic, but let me say this. I complain about pocket clips sometimes, and the stock pocket clip on the Hinderer is never something that I would ever complain about. I think it's fine. It's just not deep carry. This isn't deep carry either, but it's a little bit better than the original. I believe the original kind of came down and then swooped up. So the original, you might be right here. This one, you're going to be sitting back here. Not a huge deal. All of these are aftermarket. These are titanium, once again, battle bronze. These back spacers are, or the barrel spacers rather, are titanium, battle bronze, and then sharp dress knife scale. So the Hinderer skinny sheepsfoot is kind of a Frankenstein of a knife. Let me see if I can remember what the different parts are. The original Hinderer has these, they call them Chicago fittings, where there's a screw with a barrel mounted on it, and so it's not really a screw with a barrel, it's just a barrel, and then you basically, it helps if you put tape behind it and then take the screws and just mount them into the barrels. And so that actually doubles as your back spacers. That's one of the major differences here with the skinny, and actually probably the biggest difference, because these back spacers are very unique to the skinny sheepsfoot itself. The problem with going with the skinny, in particular the skinny sheepsfoot, is they're not the easiest to find parts for. Now, nothing is super easy to find parts for in the world of Hinderer right now, but this is even a little bit more of a rarity. Now, I guess you could also flip that and say, because it's rare, this knife is a singular knife. It's like some of these parts are singular to this. The parts I don't think sell out nearly as fast, but we're talking the difference of sometimes some of the popular models like black and this dark battle bronze, you're talking a difference of like 2 hours to a day. Like it's not that big. So if you miss the drop, you're not going to get what you're looking for, and it sucks. These skinny scales, they're not as popular, but they're becoming more and more popular. Like I'm seeing more and more of them out there, but they're a little bit harder to find certain things for too. But once again, there's less skinny models than regular models out there, so there's less people battling for these scales. Let's see. Is there anything else really to talk about here? The price. So the price on this guy brand new was $425. I think I picked it up for $425 on the aftermarket, and I guarantee you if I posted this with everything that I've done for it, I could probably get at least $500 to $550. Is that my full price that I put into it? No, but it would coop most of what I have into it. Is it worth that? Ooh, what a loaded question, right? You guys know how I feel about these knives. You guys know how I felt about the Sebenza, how I feel about these mid-tech knives, and the point of diminishing returns, etc., etc., etc. The Hinderer models that I felt the Gen 4 XM-18 3-inch, the Gen 6 XM-18 3.5 spear point, and the skinny sheepsfoot. They all have something going for them. And that is, there's a lot going on here. Yes, this is the bronze finish, and it's got the working finish, so there's a lot of tumbling going on here, tumbling throughout the blade. 20 CV, that is hardened, I believe, to 61 HRC, if I remember right. You could tell that I poked it a couple times, and I did an HRC test. And then the reason I poked it so much is because I wanted to make sure that I was repeating my process there. But you have this recessed pocket clip, so it's not going to spin on you. You have some milling going on and this deep cutout when it comes to the relief cut here. And that allows us to be pretty damn light. This is a really lightweight lock bar. And so I've always found that the lighter the lock bar, as long as it doesn't lend to it failing and locking up solid, the lighter the lock bar, the more fidget friendly the knife is. And that is nice. This is gentle, and it has some jimping, but it is a little scalloped on the inside. Maybe I would call it chamfered rather than scalloped. This jimping is kind of more chamfered on the sides. It's not aggressive, but it's aggressive enough that you catch it. I've flipped this thing for hours at some points in time and never had any issues as far as uncomfortable feelings. You get more uncomfortable feelings with the thumb studs because if you're hitting it in the wrong spot, yeah, they can be a little bit difficult to deploy. But clearly I took off the pocket or the flipper tab and haven't had any issues. There's a lot of jimping going on here. This is kind of catch points for your hand. This is where your pinky kind of goes, and then this is where the meat of your hand kind of goes there. Then your thumb naturally kind of rests here or here. So the jimping is really damn functional. They don't take the jimping on the blade to where it goes up through here. If they would have put jimping here, yeah, that's where your thumb might go. But a lot of times they put jimping here, and you're like, I'm either here or I'm here. So that works out perfect. The lock bar stabilizer is fantastic and it works just fine. The reason I bring up all these little details is the Hinderer does feel like the price that it's going for. Yeah, you might not say a knife's worth this much, and that's to your own value system, but as far as the way it feels in hand, which is kind of how I judge whether or not a knife is worth it, plus other factors. And those other factors, obviously, if this is a Hinderer, are already, the check mark's already checked. So you're really talking about, does this feel like $425? 100%, guys. This knife is so well tuned. It's just so well done. The blade is done well. The grinds are done very, very well. You know, in hand, it feels incredible, especially after removing that flipper tab, which they do make non-flippers for that reason. You know, everything when you get it in hand, it feels busy, but it's the right amount of busy in hand, and it lets me feel like I got my money's worth out of this knife. Yeah. So I know this might end up being a lackluster video, but here's what I can tell you about a Hinderer. The Hinderers that I have all felt worth it. I have preferred the skinny model because in your pocket, This takes up a lot less room. It's a lot thinner, and I actually really like that thin presence. I like the Hogue Sig Sauer. I've been talking about this thing, right? The K320. I think it's probably one of my most, or will be one of my most beat-on knives. But it's a little bulky in my pocket. Same thing with my Berg Blade Slim. Love this thing. This will be one of my more used knives for sure. I love this. I love carrying it. It is a pocket tank though. It takes up a lot of room and a lot of space, and it's dense. Yes, this takes up a lot of space in your pocket, but it's thin and it feels right. The other size Hinderer that I had felt a little bulky in my jeans. Not a big deal, but a little bulky. I'm considering looking into an XM-18 3-inch for that same reason. I'm steering more towards the SOG Terminus style knives and the Benchmade bug out style knives than I am these 3.5-inch knives. That takes nothing away from this guy. It's solely a preference. All in all, definitely worth the price. You're not going to find another knife like it. I know we always compare the 0562 to the Hinderer because it's based on the Hinderer XM-18 models. And yeah, I mean, I felt those, and they feel, there's a design language there that you recognize, but they don't feel like a Hinderer XM-18 in your hand, in my opinion. Some may argue that the ergonomics are better, that everything about the ZT-0562 is better, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's subjective. But what I can tell you is they don't feel like the XM-18 in my hand. I felt them. They feel close. They feel Hinderer, but there's nothing like having this in your hand. This is unique. It is just incredible. And this is definitely one of the favorite knives, if not the favorite knife that I currently own, and will continue to do so. This is the longest living knife in my collection as well. I've had this thing for, like I said, 9 months, 10 months. Most things make it past a month and it's like, peace. Not this guy. This is a fantastic, fantastic knife. I am so honored to own this. And if you guys are thinking about a Hinderer and you have the funds to do so, I mean, don't hesitate. If you see something you like or you found the model you like, go for it. If you've never felt one, I can tell you, you won't be disappointed. You have to learn it. There is a learning curve when it comes to the thumb studs, for sure. But once you learn it, you're going to be like, yep, I like that a lot. Now, if you're thinking about it, but you don't have the funds, you know, go for the 0562. It definitely fits the bill as far as scratching that itch, but you're missing out on that premium feel that this brings. The busyness, this is, like I said, this is a lot of busy going on for a knife. Most knives are a lot less busy going. It's a bad using the word for the definition, but most knives are a lot less busy than this one. But this is the perfect amount of busy, and all the tolerances feel so good. I'm gushing, but this is my baby, and I've never done a review on this before, and I came home and I'm like, I need to get a video out there. And I looked at this knife and I'm like, it's time. If you guys have any questions about you know, my experience with Hinderers, should you get one, because it's a huge leap to make from the $200 to $250 knives to this $425 knife that once you get it, you're like, I'm gonna make it my own. Oh, titanium hardware, $60. Pocket clip, $30, $40. You know, pivot, that's going to be some more. You got the filler tab, what? That's going to cost you some more. Oh wait, you want to get the back spacers? That's going to cost you some more. Oh wait, you want to get the... It's once you start, guys, it's definitely a slippery slope. So know that. You're going to get into it, and I have a feeling that most of us that get into it are going to switch the game up just as soon as we get it, if not before we get it, and start buying stuff to make it your own. My name is Tyler. This is Everyday EDC. You guys stay sharp, stay safe. Have a great freaking rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. It genuinely means a lot. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. If you didn't like it, give me some feedback in the comments below and hit the thumbs down button. In case you guys don't know, I do have a Patreon, which will be listed right here. In that Patreon, we're giving bi-monthly giveaways to just the Patreons based on the number of Patreons that we have in the Patreon. We will also be giving discounts on all the knives that I sell based on the number of patrons. My name is Tyler. This is Everyday EDC. You guys stay sharp, stay safe, and have a great day.